Hello there and a very good evening. This is Primetime News on TV1 for the News First team. I am Ratnayaka. Today is the 10th of July 2023.
For the News First team, I'm Peruni Karnaratna. Before we move on to your stories in detail, let's first take a look at your headlines.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
4 bus accidents, 12 fatalities reported. 1 out of 3 CT scan machines in state hospitals malfunction. Crisis in treating patients. GMOA reveals. 800,000 appeals filed with regard to the Aswasma Welfare Benefit Scheme. The deadline to file appeals ends today. SJB out of the committee appointed to look into the reasons that led to the country's bankruptcy. Port trade unions take to the streets during lunch hour to protect the EPF and ETF. Signs of bank interest rates decreasing.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
We start off tonight's bulletin with some tragic news. 12 people died and 100 were injured from 4 bus accidents since last night. Among these 4 tragic accidents, the most serious accident was reported in the Manampitiya area in Polonnaruwa.
A mission is currently underway searching the waters for more bodies with the hope of finding more survivors.
You and I will have to travel in a bus at least once in our lifetime. And we do that because of the faith that we have in our bus drivers and bus conductors, hoping that they will take us home safe. However, that trust, that faith that the people had was betrayed last night right here on this Kotalia bridge in Manampitiya.
The private bus was travelling from Kadruwela to Kathankudi when it met with disaster just after 7:30 p.m. on Sunday night. This is the footage of the passenger-laden bus passing 2 bus halls at around 7:30 p.m. on Sunday night. The bus had hit the safety fence of the Kotalia bridge and had plunged into a canal. The residents of the area and the police immediately took steps to admit the victims to the hospital with the help of the Sri Lanka Army.
The bus started the journey from Kadruwela at around 7:30 p.m. The bus was driven at a very high speed and suddenly it plunged into a river. I escaped the bus through a window and shouted for help. Everyone came to the rescue. We heard a crashing sound. When I got here, it was crowded. We also got into the water and rescued the passengers. When all of us got into the water, we discovered at least 10 bodies and all of them were unconscious. We tried our best to save them.
The victims of the accident were admitted to the Polonnaruwa General Hospital and it was later announced that 10 people, including a woman, had lost their lives. 2 undergraduates of the Eastern University were also victims of this tragic incident.
My son was on a vacation. He travelled in that bus to attend his lectures. He contacts us at 8 p.m. every night and yesterday he didn't. Then we found that something like this has happened.
41 are injured, including a woman and 3 children. One person who was in critical condition and was being treated at the ICU of the Polonnaruwa General Hospital died earlier today. What caused this fatal accident? The police suspect that the driver of the bus lost control and crashed at high speed.
This accident had taken place because of the carelessness of the driver and he was taken under arrest. He is now in custody of the Polonnaruwa police station. The same driver had earlier been imposed fines and punishment by the Polonnaruwa police station for unsafe driving.
State Minister Siripala Gamlath also visited the location and made the following remarks.
There have been many accidents in this same location in the past as well. The reason for that is that today's roads are all well constructed, but the vehicles are travelling at high speed. But some parts of these roads were not constructed the way we want. But if the drivers can be more careful, these accidents can be avoided.
But the residents say that several accidents took place at this location because the bridge was not reconstructed along with the road.
It is not just one bus but 3 buses. Lorries and tippers have plunged into the canal. No official is interested in taking actions for this. There had been 3 or 4 accidents in this place. It took many lives.
But the Minister of Transport and Highways says that no roads can be reconstructed until the country's debt restructuring is carried out.
There is a very narrow bridge in such a broad road. The accident took place not because of the bridge but because of the driver of the bus was careless. Nevertheless, estimations have already been made to broaden this bridge and those have been included in the active plan as well. The estimated cost for the reconstruction of this bridge is 300 million rupees. But until the debt restructuring is completely done, Sri Lanka is not capable of constructing any roads no matter how many accidents take place.
The minister commented on the financial issues regarding the road constructions, launching a software publishing the schedules of all long-distance travel services run by the Sri Lanka Transport Board.
Meanwhile, 2 people died and 29 were injured in another bus accident which occurred in Ambampula along the Padeniya-Anuradhapura road early this morning. The accident had taken place when the bus, which was travelling from Padeniya to Anuradhapura, collided with a container. The deceased were both residents of Talava, aged 32 and 71. The injured passengers were admitted to the Ambampula and Galgamuwa hospitals. 24 of the injured are women. Police say that the cause of the accident was the driver falling asleep. 8 people sustained minor injuries in another bus accident which occurred in Helboda along the Nuwara-Eliya-Gampola main road this afternoon. The bus was transporting a group of people who were going on a trip. Police suspect that the accident was due to the driver falling asleep at the wheel.
26 people were injured when a private bus rolled down a precipice last evening in Dunuketheniya in Pundaloya, Hatton. The bus was carrying plantation workers from the Watagoda town in Talawakale to Dunuketheniya in Pundaluoya. According to the Pundaluoya police, initial investigations indicated that the cause of the accident was a technical failure in the bus. From tears of sorrow to tears of joy, building bridges of hope for our very own Sri Lankans. Kalugala, Dambulla, Watamada, Hambegamuwa, Neluwa, Gaul, Pokpitiya, Hunnaskiriya, Peelakumbura, Balangota, Vagolla, Udabavagama. Building bridges for the people to realize their aspirations.
The Government Medical Officers Association said that 1/3 of the CT scanners in government hospitals are inactive at present. The association said that doctors are facing a serious crisis when treating patients, as these machines are crucial to diagnose illnesses.
There are 44 CT scanners at state hospitals used to conduct internal scans to diagnose illnesses. Health professionals said 12 of them are inactive at present. As the CT scanner at the Badula Teaching Hospital, which is the main hospital in the Uva province, has broken down, patients are being transferred to the Monaragal and Nuwara-Eliya hospitals.
We must either go to Kandy or Sirigala. Fix this as soon as possible. This is the only teaching hospital in the Uva province. The hundreds of people in the province come to this hospital. If not this, they have to at least go to Kandy. people cannot afford it. Over 120 CT scans are taken at the Badula hospital. Only around 30 CT scans can be done at the Nuwara and Monoragala hospitals daily. 1 in 5 patients get the opportunity. We select the patients with the highest risk and treat them using CT scans.
The CT scanner at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital has also broken down.
The CT scanner is broken. People who come to this hospital are helpless. It costs around 20,000 to 25,000 rupees to do it elsewhere. Medical students are taught at this hospital. If the CT scanner at this hospital is broken, the country's situation and the people's fate is clear. My wife underwent 3 serious surgeries. They asked for a CT scan, but we can't get it done because the machines are broken. We need 35,000 to 38,000 rupees to do it elsewhere. We can't afford it. My brother-in-law was unconscious and we brought him here. When we took him to the emergency unit, they did their duty fast and said they needed to do a CT scan. That is when we faced an issue. The CT scanner at the hospital has been broken for over 3 months. That is when we found it has to be done at a private hospital.
The CT scan machine at the Sirimavo Bandaranayaka Specialized Children's Hospital in Kandy has also been broken for over a month. The Government Radiological Technologies Association said 1 CT scan machine at the National Hospital of Sri Lanka is also broken.
There are 44 CT scanners at government hospitals. 12 of them are broken. One of the 2 machines at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital and the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital, the machine at the Trincomalee Hospital, one of the 2 machines at the Hambantara Hospital, the machine at the Ratnapura Hospital, the Badulla Hospital, the Kalutara Hospital, National Dental Hospital, Horana Hospital, the emergency unit of the National Hospital of Sri Lanka, the machine at the Sirimavo Bandaranayaka Specialized Children Hospital in Peradeniya, and the machine at the Matara General Hospital. When it comes to an illness such as paralysis, the cause and effect need to be identified. In some cases, if a CT scan is done and the cause is identified within 2 hours, the patient can be treated. CT scans are necessary to determine the spread of diseases. When CT scans cannot be done as required, it is difficult to determine illnesses and it gets delayed. As a result, treatments get delayed and patients face complications. When the tests cannot be done, doctors cannot determine the illnesses. It is crucial that we determine the illness at the right time for treatment.
Director General of Health Services Dr. Asela Gunawardena said that in the past 2 years, the Treasury did not receive the funds required to repair the CT scan. He said that this was the reason that the relevant companies did not carry out repairs by importing the necessary parts. Dr. Gunawardena added that since the necessary money has now been paid and contracts have been made with the relevant companies, the repair work will be started in about 2 weeks.
Trade unions representing the health sector made a revelation during an emergency press conference held this evening.
ඖෂධ නියාමන අධිකාරිය කියන්නේ අතිශය පාරිශුද්ධ අතිශය ස්වාධීන ආයතනය.
The National Medicines Regulatory Commission is a completely independent and hallowed institution. On the 8th and 9th of July, officials of the NMRA and their families have gone on a trip to a star-class hotel in Trincomalee. According to what we know, the name of the hotel is Green Garden. The NMRA allows the importation of substandard medicine, leading to the death of Sri Lanka's citizens. The medical mafia funds this. While these allegations continue to swirl, what right does the Chief Executive and Chief Administration Officer have to go on a trip and enjoy? How was it funded? Let me show you the bus they travelled in. This bus is a luxury bus with air suspension. One might argue that this was funded through the Welfare Society or by pocketing the cost on their own. We know if such a substantial sum can be spent or not, judging by their salaries. It is incumbent upon the Ministry of Health to confirm how it was funded. The Chief Executive Officer of the NMRA, several other employees and their families had engaged in this tour. Our question is, who spent money for this? According to the information we have, they cannot utilize their own funds because it is a large sum of money. It has been sponsored by certain corporations.
ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන ඖෂධ නියාමන අධිකාරිය ප්‍රධාන විධායක නිලධාරියා ඇතුළු ඔවුන්ගේ වෘත්තීමය කණ්ඩායම සහ පවුලේ උදවිය අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ ඔවුන්ට සල්ලි වේදම් කරේ කවුද? අපිට තියෙන වාර්තාවලට අනුව ඔවුන්ගේ පොකට්ටුවෙන් මේ සල්ලි වේදම් කරන්න බෑ. මේක විශාල මුදලක්. මේක වේදම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ සමාගම් වල අනුග්‍රහයෙන්.
Port workers engaged in a protest today demanding that employee welfare and employee trust funds not be jeopardized.
The protest was organised by the movement against the looting of EPF and ETF.
We would like to remind the Rajapakshas and Ranil that the people of this country are the owners of these funds. The government is trying to curtail debt optimization using these funds of the people. So we are clearly saying that you should stop looting the funds to give relief to friends of yours. Ranil and the Rajapakshas have stolen and destroyed the country, and they are trying to get their hands on the funds belonging to the people of the country to cover up the loss of the destruction. Ranil Wickramasinghe and Mahinda Rajapaksa were very quick to declare the bank loans granted to the wealthy as bad debts. The people of this country can't afford 3 meals a day. They can only afford 1, and the government is even trying to take away whatever they have left to eat.
The members of the Socialist Equality Party were seen distributing handouts at the location when the protest was ongoing. They protested at that location, saying that an unknown person had stolen the pamphlets of that group. Several protests were organised across the country today. A group of people protested in front of the Maha H Residential Project Management Office in Thabuttegama against the distribution of land in Thabuttegama H zone belonging to the Maha Authority to other people. According to the protesters, the land is located in the centre of Thabuttegama town and should be allocated for the use of the public. They also condemned the action of distributing those lands among land sellers and political connected persons. A heated situation arose between the protesters and the residential manager. All Ceylon Dengue Prevention Assistance Association commenced a satyagraha next to the MOH office in Maha. They were protesting against the government avoiding the confirmation of their service for 7 years.
We are in the service of 6.5 years as dengue prevention assistants. We were employed during the good governance regime in 2017. Dengue was a menace back in 2017. We were employed with the promise to be hired as the permanent staff in 6 months. That regime is over, and now it has come to the next regime as well, and we are still paid only 22,000 monthly. We are suffering. A batch that was employed after ours have already been confirmed in their service.
Meanwhile, a protest march was held in London yesterday to commemorate the first anniversary of the Aragalaya. It commenced from the Sri Lankan embassy in London. The group staged a protest opposite Downing Street, claiming that the IMF is not a solution to the country's problems and that the present government has failed to find solutions to the problems the country is facing.
News first with the people.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you. When a heart attack strikes, every minute makes the difference between life and death. With the right care and treatment at the hand of the most skilled surgeons and medical professionals. With the perfect environment for recovery. Durden's Heart Centre, dedicated to you.
Welcome back to the news. Sri Lanka's commercial banks have significantly lowered the interest rates on savings accounts in line with the reduction of policy interest rates carried out by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
Today, the interest rates paid for general savings accounts in many commercial banks were in the range of 2.5 to 3.5%. This is a drastic reduction from the 12% interest rate for general savings accounts that the central bank said was being paid last April. Taking a look at fixed deposits, as of today, the interest rate has been reduced to a value between 9 and 12%, down from a maximum of 30% in April. However, in contrast, the loan interest rates of many commercial banks are still higher than 20%. Today's loan interest rates in many commercial banks were valued between 20 and 28%. On two previous occasions, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka lowered its policy interest rates, which determine market interest rates.
The Ceylon Bank Employees Union held a press briefing today and expressed its opinions.
පහුගිය කාල සීමාවේ රටේ පොලි අනුපාත ඉතා විශාල ලෙස ඉහළ ගියා. ඒ ඉතා විශාල ලෙස ඉහළ යාම තුළ එක පැත්තකින් රටේ සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාවට බැංකුවල තැන්පත් කරලා යම් ආදායමක් ගන්න ලැබුණා. හැබැයි ඒකේ විශාල
In the recent past, the country's interest rates surged drastically. On the one hand, the general public were able to deposit their money in banks and earn a high interest. But it was the rich and affluent that benefited the most from it. They bought a large number of treasury bills and are going to earn a huge amount. Their interest rates will not be reduced. However, the disadvantage of this is the increase of interest rates inconvenienced small-scale and medium-scale entrepreneurs as well as those who wish to take a loan. The country cannot go forward and be developed with interest rates this high. Due to this, it is good that such extremely high interest rates are being reduced. In the recent past, we saw the interest rates, which were at 14.5% and 12.5%, being lowered. As of now, it has been brought down to 11.8% and 12%. Under these circumstances, the country's interest rates will surely go down. However, the loan interest rates will not go down very much immediately. It will happen within a certain time period. The reason for this is the banks are currently settling the interest for the large deposits they received. They are incurring a high expense. However, with the interest rates being lowered, the rates being paid to depositors will also go down. The benefit of this can be given to those in debt.
පොලි අනුපාත ගෙවමින් ඉන්නේ. නිසා විශාල පිරිවැයක් බැංකු දරනවා. හැබැයි දැන් පොලි අනුපාත පහළ යාම තුළ මින් ඉදිරියට ලබා ගන්න තැන්පතු වලට ගෙවන පොලිය අඩු වෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ වාසිය ණයකරුවන් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Meanwhile, the time period given to submit appeals related to the Aswasuma Social Welfare Programme ended today. State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe stated that so far more than 800,000 appeals have been received.
Even today, people from many areas across the country had travelled to their respective divisional secretariats to hand in their appeals.
This was the situation at the Nochiagama Divisional Secretariat this morning. The people also gathered at the Kurunagala Mallavapitiya Divisional Secretariat today to hand over their appeals.
We are helpless now. We have to pay 500 rupees per bottle of medicine. My husband is also very sick.
A large crowd came to the Hambantara Divisional Secretariat to hand in
We serve even after submitting our details. Please provide us with a solution to this problem. We serve even after submitting our details. Please provide us with a solution to this problem.
Meanwhile, State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe says that applications will be called again for the Aswasama Social Welfare Programme from the beginning of next month. The State Minister says that those who did not qualify for the Aswasama Programme can reapply this time.
The Samagi Janabalavega has decided to withdraw from the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy declared by the government. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa stressed that the opposition must arrive at a common decision.
කමිටුවේ සභාපතිවරයා හැටියට පොදුජන පෙරමුණේ මහලේකම්වරයා වන සාගර කාර්යවසම්ව පත් කරලා තියෙනවා.
General Secretary of the SLPP, Sagar Karyavasam, has been appointed as the chairman of the committee. That too was as the chairman of the sectoral committee appointed to investigate the causes for the financial bankruptcy of the country. Under these circumstances, this committee will be of no use. This will be a process to hide the actions of the group led by Basil Rajapaksa. I suggest all parties connected to the opposition resign from this committee and to form a committee with all the parties of the opposition. According to the Speaker, it has been entered into the Hansard that I also can summon officials. As the opposition leader, I suggest forming a separate committee under my leadership, and we will follow the process with transparency, and we will invite 225 members of parliament as well.
අපි වෙනමම සභාවක් ස්ථාපනය කරලා අපි මේ වැඩ කටයුත්ත කරමු. ඒ සභාවට අපි ආරාධනා කරමු පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ 225 දෙනාට වෙන්න.
Jathika Janabalawege parliamentarian Vijay Herath also stated that he will resign from the select committee.
The Court of Appeal issued notice on the former chairman of the Presidential Commission appointed to investigate allegations of political victimizations, former Supreme Court Justice Upali Aberatna and other members of the Commission to appear in court on the 11th of September. This was done earlier today. Notice was issued subsequent to a petition filed at the court alleging that the said individuals had violated an undertaking agreed to in court. Former Court of Appeal Justice Daya Chandrasiri Jayatilaka and former Inspector General of Police Chandra Fernando were the other members of this Presidential Commission. President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Nishanka Bandula Karunaratne and Justice S. Kirti Singha, who examined a petition filed by the former Director of the CID, Shania Besekara, issued notices on the respondents. In his petition, Shania Besekara says that he had filed a writ application before the Court of Appeal against the Presidential Commission appointed to probe political victimization, summoning him to provide a statement over a complaint filed against him by Nisanka Senadipati. According to the petition, when this writ application was taken up in court, the attorney appearing for the members of the Presidential Commission appointed to probe political victimization had informed court that no action will be taken by the Presidential Commission with regard to the complaint filed by Nisanka Senadipati until the examination of the writ application is concluded. In his petition, Shania Besekara alleges that despite such an undertaking being given to court, the Presidential Commission probing political victimization had presented a report in which the Commission had included recommendations against Shani Abesekara. Shani Abesekara is seeking an order from court to hold the members of the Presidential Commission probing political victimization in contempt of court for violating the undertaking given to court by presenting a report with recommendations against him. In more news, News First won the prestigious Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union's Asia Vision Award for frontline reporting on protests in Colombo.
The award presented during the ABU Global News Forum in Malaysia on Monday was for the compelling vision from the front line of protests in Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo, throughout 2022. News First is the news arm of MTV Channel Private Limited, Sri Lanka's largest independent media organisation. The Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, formed in 1964, is a non-profit professional association of broadcasting organisations. It currently has over 287 members in 57 countries and regions, reaching a potential audience of about 3 billion people. News First manager English News Zulfiq Farzan received the award on behalf of the company from Ahmed Nadeem, Secretary General of the ABU.
Do you remember the Akrudiazelanika tree that gave rise to much public discourse not too long ago? This matter came to the fore when Akrudiazelanika tree that is currently facing the threat of extinction was to be cut down in Daralua, Gampaha during construction of an expressway. Authorities thereafter decided to conserve the tree amid heavy resistance from many quarters at the time. However, a group had chopped that very tree down earlier this evening.
Akrudiazelanika tree, which stood for many years in Daralua, Gampaha, was planned to be cut down but was stopped by the effort of many factions. The tree was also ordained as a means of conserving it. But locals revealed to News First today that the tree had been cut down by a group this evening.
මේක මොකද්ද? එක අත්තයි තියලා තියෙන්නේ. එක අත්තයි ඒකත් බැරි වෙලා ගිහින් වෙන්නේ ඇති.
This is just one branch of the tree. They have left just one. Everything else is taken. They have done everything to make it look like the tree was never here. The tree was 400 years old. This land belonged to my grandfather.
පොඩි කාලේ ඉඳලා මේක මගේ සීයාගේ අවුරුදු 400ක් පරණයි. අපේ සීයාගේ පරණ ඉඩම මේක. ඒක දැන් මේ හයිවේ වලට CGR එකට කැල්ලා ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකේ තිමිච්ච ගහක් අපි පොඩි කාලේ සෙල්ලම් කරනකොටත් අවුරුදු 100කට වැඩි පරණ නිසා මොකද ගහ මම පොඩි කාලෙත් ඔය සයිස්. වන්නන් දන්නේ චයිනීස්ලා හතර දෙනෙක් හිටියා.
There were 4 Chinese men. Locals were also there. First the branches were broken off the tree. Then they got the roots of the tree. It didn't even take 10 minutes. The vehicles drove towards Bemulla. This tree was reserved and a safety net had also been installed.
විනාඩි 10ක් ගියේ නෑ. කොහොම ඒ වලටම නැම්ම දාලා එල බැකෝගේ වාහනයක් ආවා ආවිල්ලා පටවගෙන මේ බෙමුල පැත්තට ගියා. බෙමුල පැත්තට ගියා. ඔව්. අද ආරක්ෂා කරලා මේකේ වැටකුත් ගහලා තිබුණේ හතර වටේ මේ දැල් වැටක් ගහලා තිබුණේ. අපිත් හිතුවේ මේ ගහට මොකක් හරි ආරක්ෂා දාන්න ඇති කියලා ගහේ වෙල තිබුණා. දැන් හිටවන්නේ නෑ ඒක. දැන් හිටවන කොහේ හරි වලක මේ
Australia's commitment to stopping illegal people smuggling was reinforced this week in a visit to Colombo by the commander of the Joint Agency Task Force Operation Sovereign Borders, Rear Admiral Justin Jones.
The relationship that we have with Sri Lanka, in particular regards to civil maritime security and in this case specifically counter-maritime people smuggling, is what we refer to as a gold standard relationship. It is our most important regional relationship when it comes to combating the scourge of maritime people smuggling that is itself a regional problem. Sri Lanka's commitment and indeed operations to deter and disrupt maritime people smuggling are extraordinary. And we work together across all of these agencies to counter what I've described as the scourge of maritime people smuggling. There's one thing I've learnt in the 17 months that I've been in this job, and that is that maritime people smugglers are not interested in providing a moral service to society. They are interested only in making money and making money at the expense of vulnerable people. So at its very core, we in the Australian Joint Agency Task Force for Operation Sovereign Borders are focused and intent on saving lives at sea and avoiding those vulnerable people from succumbing to the lies of criminals who are maritime people smugglers.
Speaking at the event, police media spokesperson SSP Nihal Talduwa spoke about human traffickers.
Human traffickers, they are trying to earn their money and they explain to the public because they have some dreams. I mean, public, the critical community, they have some dreams. They use this human traffickers, they use their dreams to earn their money. That's the main thing because according to the Sri Lankan law, immigration law, we have 2016, we introduced new law. According to this law, we have nearly between 2 years to 5 years rigorous imprisonment we can give for these smugglers.
During the event, Rear Admiral Justin Jones spoke of the number of Sri Lankan boats intercepted off Australia.
So since May 2022, there have been 7 boats and 224 people who have been successfully, safely and legally intercepted off Australia, not in Australia, off Australia, and returned to Sri Lanka with the assistance of all of my colleagues representing their agencies here at the table. We can't do that without that gold standard relationship to which I referred earlier.
Australia's flagship regional engagement activity, Indo-Pacific Endeavour or the IPE, returns to Sri Lanka this week to conduct bilateral diving training between the Royal Australian Navy and Sri Lankan Navy, as well as host a maritime security law forum.
Australia's flagship regional engagement activity, the Indo-Pacific Endeavour, supports the Australian government's focus to deepen diplomatic and defence partnerships across Southeast Asia and the Northeast Indian Ocean and reinforces Australia's commitment to a peaceful, secure and prosperous region. The IPE 2023 will conduct activities with Bangladesh, Brunei, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, the Maldives, the Philippines, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Vietnam. The Royal Australian Navy ships, Australian Army detachments and Royal Australian Air Force aircraft will also support exercises and engagement activities, sharing information and providing training opportunities throughout IPE 2023. Other agencies will also contribute to a range of activities reflecting Australia's whole of government commitment to regional stability and security.
Us Sri Lankans love cowboys and we also love Hollywood movies.
So, how about a Sri Lankan cowboy who is famous for training horses in Hollywood movies?
Well, Thai Niti, a real-life, authentic Sri Lankan cowboy, just rode into town.
Thai's love for horses is only rivaled by his deep affection for his birth country, Sri Lanka. Departing from the island during a tumultuous period at the tender age of 8 in 1984, a significant part of his heart has always remained tethered to these beautiful shores. Now Thai runs a horse ranch in the Apple Valley named 66 Ranch. Thai is renowned worldwide as a lead wrangler and expert horse trainer with over 3 decades of experience in riding, breaking, training and schooling horses. His skills have also led him to the world of acting, where he has graced the silver screen in several recent movies. Undoubtedly, Thai stands as one of the greatest horsemen our world has ever seen. The purpose of this visit is to help to promote Ceylon Riding Club to investors, to potential clients and partners, and to demonstrate the famous horsemanship that launched Thai's career as the trainer of horses for the movie Zorro. Today, both Thai and Kanan have several movies to their credit and a wealth of experience that they will be sharing with the equestrian community in Sri Lanka, including the equine vet community and the mounted services division.
Well, who is Thai Niti? Well, let's ask him.
That's a long story, but I'm going to try to put it in a small perspective. Well, Thai Niti, I'm Sri Lankan. I was born in Sri Lanka, India, in transition. Went to America, became a cowboy, been a cowboy for 30 years. Professional horse trainer. Did a lot of work for Hollywood. And came to Sri Lanka. And my whole thing about coming to Sri Lanka is bringing some of the things that I've learned being a cowboy and introducing that to Sri Lanka and trying to build Sri Lanka up in our own way. Whatever little we can give back to this beautiful country, that's what we want to do.
What does it actually mean to be a cowboy, if I ask you?
Of course. Okay, so to be a cowboy is not just because you wore a cowboy hat or cowboy boots or you can ride a horse. Cowboy is a state of mind. It's always doing the right thing even when people deem it the wrong. You always got to do the right thing, no matter what. You put in a hard day's work, you get up when the sun is rising, and you go to sleep when the sun sets. And everything in between, you work your tail off.
You're here in Sri Lanka for a while, and what do you plan to do here in Sri Lanka?
Well, I really want to do some work with the CRC at Port City, Colombo, and run by NEK, who's an amazing, amazing lady in equestrian. And I want to try to introduce some of the things that we do as cowboys and try to bring a little Western horsemanship to Sri Lanka. And also in the same process trying to educate Sri Lanka about, at one time Sri Lanka was a very, very rich horse culture that goes back thousands of years. Every king from Vijayabahu, Asoka, you name it, every kingdom, Raja Singha, everybody, I kind of did my research here. And everybody had horse cavalries, and I want to educate the Sri Lankan populace here. Hey, we come from a very rich horse culture, and somewhere down the line, last couple of 100 years, it was taken away from us. So this is maybe just the first domino to fall to put us back in line to show, hey, we came from a very, very rich heritage, not just the colonials.
The National Sea Sunday service was held at the St. Peter's Church in Colombo yesterday.
The Bishop of Colombo, the Right Reverend Dushant Rodrigo, was the celebrant and preacher. The service was led by the chaplain to the mission in Colombo, the Venerable Perry Brohier, and was assisted by Reverend Christy Joseph, Reverend Charles Nyanaya, and Reverend Asiri Jayasurya Fernando. Members from the choir of the Cathedral of Christ, the Living Saviour, and choir Octave were present.
Every year on the second Sunday in July, the world remembers the work of sea and airfarers who, through a tremendous commitment, contribute to the lives of humanity right around the world. Here in Colombo, we have observed the National Sea and Airfarers Sunday while recognizing the selfless contribution of these people, especially as an island nation that has more than 90% of its commodities that come in through sea. We owe these people much more than what we give them. The National Seafarers Sunday is a service that is observed here at St. Peter's Church Fort, and we at the mission here in Colombo are engaged in the welfare work amongst seafarers of all faiths, of all communities. It is a work that extends also to over 230 ports around the world, and it is indeed our obligation and joy to be of service to these people who give so selflessly to the human family.
Many friends and partners of the mission in Colombo, including the harbour master, representatives from the shipping industry, shipping agents, and the naval attaché of the United States Embassy to Sri Lanka and Maldives were present.
The LLC Divisavia program was launched to lend a helping hand to the most impoverished students here in Sri Lanka. Today, on the 60th day of the LLC Divisavia program, it was held centering the Kalutara district.
This virtuous deed is being conducted jointly by the LOLC Group and the Ministry of Education. Many students from the Horan Education Zone were provided with school books and other items today. Students from the Alutkama Primary School, Samaranayaka Primary School in Maha, Veeramaduma Primary School, Veherawatha Primary School, Millava Primary School, St. Francis Tamil Primary School, Miris Hena Tamil Primary School, and Niggaha Primary School benefited through today's program. Meanwhile, stationery items were distributed among students from the Kandana Primary School, Devamulla Primary School, Perasesta Tamil Primary School, and Rahula Primary School through the Divisavia program. Divisavia continues to power on, supporting the dreams and ambitions of Sri Lanka's next generation.
And that's a wrap of your primetime news here on TV1. For the Newswiz team, I'm Peruni Karunaratna.
And I'm Zayman Ratnayaka. Take care and good night.